Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Master Random, the podcast, episode 200. 200 episodes. We did a live show about a couple weeks ago, and I'm releasing the audio to you now. I wanted to give a chance, about a couple weeks for the dust to settle and for myself to reflect on doing such an event. There was a lot of big things that happened on that day, from the rebrand. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast directories, you'll see now the cover art is different, and we did something new. We brought in headphones where everybody wore headphones. We just made it a total immersive event. All the way from when you entered to the end of the night. The event was about 4 hours, and people stayed throughout the whole night. People were coming in. The only problem that I had with the show was that we weren't able to invite everyone we wanted to, because we only had 100 headphones. It was very limited as to who we're going to invite, from who we know, to family, to friends, to associates, to colleagues, to people who listen to the episode, to guests. And so the pickings and the choosings were spread well thin. And that was the only downside of the show. But other than that, I felt like the show was perfect. I want to start off with the logo. The new logo is a brain coral, and if you get a chance to see the cover art, you'll see it looks like a brain, but when we pull the logo out of the cover art, the actual logo is a full circle brain coral. And the reason why I chose a brain coral was, I don't know if my future is going to continue here on Guam, right? I can move throughout the world, but I still wanted this podcast to go with me and follow me and be attached to me and the island no matter where I went. And the brain coral, I believe I was sitting on the internet one night and just really trying to mull over a concept or an idea to choose to represent, to identify what the podcast is. And since the beginning of the podcast, the identity was random, right? Master Random. You look at the old logo, there was no real signifying detail that I was doing the podcast. There was no real identity. It was a monkey face when you turned it one way, and it was a man when you turned it the other way, and that was purely random and by accident. And so I brought on John Bermudez from the Ladrone Creative, and we were going back and forth for, I want to say, a year. And it's not to him, it's more to me, of my indecisiveness of what I really wanted to represent and identify the podcast with. And creating an identity when an identity had not been created previously is one of the toughest things I've ever had to do in my life. And we finally got through it, and I called him one night and I said, man, this is it. The brain coral this is what I want. And he made the idea come to life tremendously, all the way to the typeface of the font, to the way the brain coral and its random lines. It all came full circle, literally and figuratively. If you're not familiar with a brain coral, you can find it in the reefs. They're sort of attached to the reef, and it's just a coral that looks exactly like a brain. And I wanted, going back to what I said earlier, I wanted something that can tie me to the islands. No matter where I go and I take this podcast with me, it'll still have that attachment to Guam, to being an islander, to loving the ocean. I grew up in the ocean almost all my life, and it's finally it's all the loose ends were tied up, and it finally happened, and we were able to do sort of a reveal of the brand new logo and the identity and the cover art at the show. So that was exciting, and I want to thank John Bermudez again for putting that together. Before I start going down the line of thanking a bunch of people, I do some thank yous towards the end of the live show. That's completely different. This is a more thought out thank you. So, and the next people I want to thank is the Master Random team. Without the team, logistically to help put it together, Anthony Velena, Matthew Scro, Halana Leon Guerrero, and Matthew Balahudja. Without that team, that night wouldn't have been possible. All the way from trying to find out how we're gonna fund something like this, how we're gonna invite people, how we're gonna word out things, how we're gonna create the show, how we're gonna design the layout of the place, of the venue. Actually, it wouldn't have been possible without them. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Logistically, Matt came through. Technologically, Tony came through. Aesthetic, Halana came through, and Matty B's Matty B's been here since we started doing videos, since episode 108, and without him, that night wouldn't have been possible of getting everything out and recorded and laid out. And I just want to thank the Master Random team for putting together such a great and awesome event. It was a night not to forget. Did I say that right? Night not to forget. Right. The next thing, the headphones. So we didn't tell anybody that we were doing headphones. I was able to acquire 100 headphones, and which is the reason why we made it an invite only. And it was a big risk to take, because having 100 headphones and then doing a silent disco right after is something that has never been done here before. So I was very, very weary and just unsure of how people, the audience, would take it in, and it was complete 180 of my thoughts and doubts that I was having going into the show. People totally loved it. People were so open to the new experience, and it was just fucking awesome. I miss a couple things. We did the show at the venue, and I just need to thank Phil Roberto for really allowing us to transform his place, and just giving us the free reign to kind of do whatever we wanted in there, leaving us at the venue for all day to really put the show together from a couple weeks out all the way to the day of. We spent countless hours there just strategizing and doing layouts, doing dry runs and stuff like that. So it all really worked out, and thank you Phil for that. While my thank yous are all over the place, I want to thank John Sabaris from Luminetics. He did the lighting and the visuals that you saw on the stage. Well, if you were there, if you saw pictures, it was all him. He's responsible for all that. If you're looking for lighting and visuals for your events, hit him up. He's fucking tremendous. Those visuals that he plays with and putting it on stage and projecting them on is pretty badass. No, I don't think anyone else is doing that here on Guam. So hit up John Sabaris, and also thank you to our front man, Mr. Nick Baza, holding it down all night long, making sure headphones go out, people get their IDs, people give their IDs, people get their IDs back. People aren't taking headphones outside. He was really in control of the whole situation. And Nick, I want to thank you for being badass and in doing that. So thank you Nick. He was actually on the third episode of the podcast. He's been a part of my life since I was, I want to say 11 years old. And for him to agree to help us out in doing this event, I'll never forget that. And I'll be forever grateful. And thank you to the DJs. The DJs are actually the guests on the live show. So before I go to that, I just want to thank everybody for supporting the show, continuing to support the show. 4 years, man. I'm having so much fun doing this. Whether it makes money or not, it's such a great opportunity to be able to sit down with people and to create relationships with different kinds of people, which, man, maybe I wouldn't have been able to create a relationship, or go on a deeper level, or have a conversation for 2-3 hours. So I just want to thank everybody who has supported the show, whether you've been on the show, whether you listen to the show, whether you follow me on social media, any of the social medias. Thank you. Super fucking awesome. And I think I'm done with that. I got everything off my chest. Whew. That was a lot. The show was great. I want to do it again. It won't be so extravagant. We had the rebrand, 200 episodes, the headphones. So there was a lot going on, and the first live show for the podcast. That's 4 things going on all at one time, and trying to mix them all together. The next live show would be different, change it up a little bit, and we'll just see what happens. The creative juices are still flowing, and this live show allows us to be creative beyond the limits of the sky and straight into the universe, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited, and it's not just going to be, we're going to invite 100 people. I want everyone to come. I want everyone to experience just a live show, being at a podcast. It was cool. I had fun. I had a shitload of fun, and the guests I had on, they had a shitload of fun. But before I go to that, I want to go to the sponsors. Sponsors are important. Without the sponsors, we wouldn't have been able to fund this show. It was because of them that all this was so possible. And going out to our top sponsor, Budweiser. Budweiser was our main drink sponsor for the event, and the Ambrose family were so helpful in getting us everything we needed to prepare for the show. Printed panels for us, made designs for us, gave us drink specials that people can enjoy all night. And let me tell you, people really, really, really enjoyed that. I had friends who had to go home early that night because they had way too much fun. But Budweiser, the official sponsor of episode 200, it is the American style lager that has been distributed by Ambrose since 1949. And if you did not know, the first shipment of Budweiser here on Guam was 500 cases that sold out in 2 days. Fun fact, 2 days. After that, another 1,500 cases were delivered to Guam, and following that 1,500 cases being sold out, Ambrose became the sole distributor of Budweiser to the island, surpassing $10 million in sales by the 1980s, and continues to be the top-selling beer on this island to this very day. So I'd like to thank Budweiser and the Ambrose family for making episode 200 happen. And if you do decide to drink Budweiser, enjoy it responsibly and drink wiser. This episode is also brought to you by Addis Mortuary. They are a small family-owned and operated mortuary that has been serving this local island community for over 45 years, providing the top-of-the-line funeral and cremation services during a time when it is absolutely needed the most. And also, they provide pre-need services, or pre-need plans, I should say. And those are plans that prepares you for your untimely death. In the event of your death, your family won't have to worry about the finer details. All the finer details are taken care of and paid for by you. So it just gives your family a lot of time to grieve, while Addis Mortuary does what they do and do what they do. For more information on services and plans, contact 477-1311 or visit the mortuary on South Route 4, Sinanya. Right after you pass the gas stations going southbound on Route 4. Right there on your left-hand side, right before you reach Chatwood Bridge or the area. Hard to miss. They are big enough to serve, yet small enough to care. We do have some of our gold sponsors for the episode, and I don't want to miss it. Stroll Guam is one of them. We have a Stroll Guam code that you can use. It's Mr. Live 19, MRLIVE19, and get $10 off your next ride. You can use it. Just keep using it. We have it until the end of September. All our gold sponsors, including our platinum sponsors, going to be included in the next, I believe, 5 episodes. Another one of our gold sponsors, Dimension Systems. They have been a sponsor on this podcast previously. They are Guam's premier computer and IT consulting company that has been creating solutions with technology since 1987. Additionally, again, 6 a.m. Group, EIF, supporting the show. Go to all the EIFs. They have events planned throughout the whole year. They're in their 7th season of throwing events here on Guam since 2013. And last but not least, AM Insurance, providing insurance on Guam. Go and visit them today. So thank you to all our gold sponsors, all our sponsors for this episode 200. Without you, none of this would have been possible. And now, my next guest on the first live show of the Master Random podcast, RJ Aguon, aka NOUGA JR, and Ronnie Perez. They are both DJs. Well, RJ is a musician, plays with Fat Tofu, plays with Matala, but also dabbles in making beats, and he is a tremendous technician on those I want to say 1s and 2s, but it's on those machines, man. It's you got to go listen to him, follow him on his IG. He's constantly putting up new stuff. And Ronnie Perez doesn't need explaining. Legendary DJ here on Guam, and will continue to hold that legendary status. He's been here doing it since the beginning here on Guam. So, and before I forget, he also brought along DJ Silent and DJ EJ Flores to play the silent disco after we did the conversation. And how fucking solid is that? We had 4 DJs playing after the show. I digress. Without further ado, I've been going super long, and I don't want to go too far ahead of myself in going longer. And I want to go straight to the live show. I do play a 2.5 minute intro of what everybody heard in the headphones prior to me going up. So you'll be able to hear that, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for the continued support, and enjoy my conversation with RJ Aguon and Ronnie Perez on the podcast, the live show, Master Random. Check it out. Are you listening? Are you there? Are you listening? Are you listening?
Are you listening? The pill you took is part of a trace program. It's designed to disrupt your input-output carrier signal so we can pinpoint your location.
What does that mean?
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
Close your eyes and pretend it's all a bad dream.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.
Say, man, you got a joint?
No, not on me, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This was for you.
Hello? What's that? What's
that? Here's adventure. Here's romance. Here's the famous Robin Hood of the Old West. Cisco! He's sheriff! He's getting closer! This way, Pancho! Vámonos! The Cisco Kid!
Budweiser presents live here at the venue, Master Random, episode 200, the live show. Special thanks to Ada's Mortuary, AM Insurance, Dimension Systems, EIF, Ladrone Creative, and the Food Truck. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Boo Ada.
Oh, hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Look at this. We didn't have enough production money to have a guy turn on the lights, so I had to turn on the lights myself. But please give yourselves a round of applause for being here tonight. Thank you so much. We worked. I put together a tremendous team. This was 7 months in the making, and 3 months ago I put together a solid team to make tonight happen, and here we are. So thank you. It's been an incredible journey, a long, incredible journey of doing podcasts for the last 4 years. Oh, here we go. Some sponsorship stuff. Here we go. Don't forget to drink Budweiser. Thank you to Budweiser. And it's just been a really long 4 years, and to make it to this milestone is beyond anything I could have ever expected with this show. Let alone having people watch me do a podcast is blowing my mind. When I was doing episode 20, I couldn't even believe I even made it that far. Now to have everyone sitting here, episode 200, and I couldn't have been much more happier to do this in front of all of you guys. I know each and every one of you in one way or another, and if I don't know you, we'll know each other tonight. And I just want everyone to have fun. Not only are we doing a podcast, but this is a celebration of this podcast, but this is a celebration of the love and support that I've gotten from everybody. It doesn't even matter if you listen to one episode, all 199 episodes before this. It is what has driven me to keep on doing this. So thank you. It's just been a really long 3 months. It's planning. I was telling Valena on the way over, I said, oh shit, dude, if we were rock stars, we wouldn't have to be doing like setting up and doing stuff. So this must be the beginning stages to something I hope would expand beyond our borders of this tiny island, and hopefully reach out to and bridge a gap to everyone who lives in the States or around the world who has ties to this place. It's freaking me out because as I'm speaking, I'm watching all your headphones blink, and it's blowing my mind. But so, I set this up because, you know, I wanted to do a podcast to where people can still enjoy themselves. I want it to be an all-immersive event, and Tony Villanum totally made it happen in all the tech, and there's so many other people to thank. I'm going to wait till the end to thank people, but it's really, really, really fucking cool, and my parents are here. It's their anniversary tonight. So I'm sorry that I cussed right before I said that, but it's everything's just kind of flowing, and the emotions are coming out because I can't believe that I'm sitting in front of all of you doing a live show. So in me, I spit when I talk really loud, and being in places that has really loud music, I have sensitive ears now, so I can't even be in really loud places and have conversations. I really like talking to people. And, you know, this is, if you don't want to listen to music, it gives you a chance to be social and meet other people and be able to talk, dig deeper without having to yell in each other's faces. So I feel like this is something different that I could have brought here. And now that it's here, it's just totally amazing. And my love for music expands across all genres. And the only perfect people that I can think of, Ronnie Perez and NOUGA RJ, okay, before I go there, let me bring these guys up. Please help me welcome these guys up to the stage before I start talking about them, please. It's so different when you're in the studio and you're in your own home, in the comfort of your own home, and nobody's watching you do this. You kind of fall into it, and I wanted to create that experience outside of the studio. People have asked me to come over to the apartment to watch us do a podcast, and they would sit there. I feel bad for sometimes 2-3 hours, and I don't know if they're bored. We've caught people sleeping sometimes while they're listening, and it's so crazy that I'm able to transfer what we do out there here, and you don't have to be up here. You can be all the way back there and still hear just as clearly as you were listening in the front, as if I'm in your ear. And please welcome to the show, NOUGA. I'm going to call you RJ because
yeah,
I don't know about that. It's I feel only your DJ name. Only your DJ name. And Mr. Ronnie Perez, everybody's familiar with this guy. So thank you guys for joining the show.
No, thank you. Can you plug me in?
Oh yeah.
Aha.
You good?
Good.
We got some audio up here, and Ronnie's been on the show before, and so he knows the whole game, and so I want us to slowly bring into RJ into the whole realm. I'm not gonna call you NOUGA this whole thing, man. I don't know about that.
It's not that cool.
It's super cool, but to be,
I was just being,
but to know you, I have a real problem calling people by their nicknames. That's the only and the thing about it is that I enjoy people calling me by my nickname.
What is your real name? I just learned that tonight.
So yeah, my mom named me 3 or 4 different things growing up. And so from public school to private school, I was named something different. So different people in different eras of my life sort of called me different things. Vince is pretty common.
Vince, I like that.
Yeah. So the way everything went down, after I got all these headphones, I contacted RJ, and I felt like his music was the perfect example, a perfect fit to what I wanted to accomplish tonight. And along with that, it was Ronnie Perez is just automatic with Soul Therapy, and he's always here, and he's been on the podcast, and I was just like, how do I just turn this into a fully immersive experience? And these guys are gonna make it happen for you. And so I guess RJ, when did you cross over into the lo-fi beats hip hop realm? Because your background is completely drumming or playing with real bands? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I moved out to the States in, I think, 2009, and I, didn't have a lot of time to keep up with drumming, so, quit drumming for about a year and told myself.
How long were you drumming before then?
Maybe about 7-8 years.
Since you were a kid?
Yeah, I was gigging pretty heavily here, and then moving out to the States, I stopped playing for about a year, but it felt kind of strange not having any musical outlets, with my spare time.
Yeah, what part of the States you were?
Florida.
Okay.
I moved out to Florida in 2009, and pretty much tried to start a life out there. Anyways, back to the drumming thing. Stopped drumming, stopped a lot of things, cold turkey, and decided, hey, I want to get into. First off, it was mixing. I wanted to learn how to do my own sound, manage sound, and work it, and not be some lame drummer who doesn't know how to make his band sound good. So I got into working with DAWs, digital audio workstations, and I think the first one I started with was Fruity Loops.
Nice.
Did Fruity Loops. Got a laptop from work. I worked as I worked at a nonprofit drum shop, and I took one of their laptops. Didn't tell anybody. It's like how no one's keeping track of it, so I just took it home and was like, wait a minute, I know someone. By the way, I don't condone using cracked software, but just so happened to be on that laptop.
Those were the times, though, right? To get anything as pirated as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was there,
yeah.
So I took advantage of it, and that's pretty much how I got started.
Right.
Started doodling around with the sequencer, stock sounds, and it went off from there. It pretty much kept it up.
Right.
These days, I use Ableton. Using Ableton now. I used to use I don't know if it was called Acid, but that was back in the day.
Yeah.
That now?
Like the drug or
no. It's
okay.
It's a Sony program.
You guys just had to take it there. Good job.
We'll try not to. We won't bleep that out. No. Ronnie, as soon as I mentioned RJ to you, you automatically said, "Hell yeah, I love this guy." What is it about his style that really drives you to him?
Well, I remember first meeting RJ. You were DJing. You were drumming for Matala before you left to Florida, right? And I was like, wow, that guy's really good. He's a really good drummer. And then you came back to still is. Yeah. He still is. And then he comes back to Guam, and now you're still drumming for Matala and Fat Tofu and Sriracha. Caliente, right?
Syndicate.
And then someone told me that who's this NOUGA _JR
Junior, right?
Junior, right? Who's this guy?
It didn't even hit me either that it was RJ Aguon.
That wasn't the intent, by the way. I wasn't trying to fool anybody. I was just. By the way, the background story of that name. I'm a huge fan of NOUGA JR. If anybody knows the anime Samurai Champloo.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody out there? Yeah.
Anybody out there?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he's one of my favorite producers. He's from Japan. Rest in peace. But yeah, so I took the inspiration to use my name backwards because
And what is NOUGA JR?
Seba June.
Okay.
Right. Which sounds fine.
Right.
Forward and backwards.
That's a typical forward and backwards name.
Yeah. So when I first heard that that's RJ Aguon, that dude making these beats, really cool. I guess lo-fi would be the current term, but just that real down tempo, very strong hip hop sensibility, instrumental music. And I started talking to other fellow DJs like EJ Flores and DJ Silent, and we're like, this guy, first off, is a badass drummer, and now he's making beats. No fair, man.
It worked out. I have no. Well, these days I feel my piano skill has gone up, but when I first started out, it was like the only thing I had going was I can at least count to 4.
Did you have any musical background as far as like classical?
Well, music theory, I had none of that.
Okay, so everything by ear
I was
growing
just
up?
one of those, the
backyard
stereotypical, that dumb drummer. Like, he lifts heavy things, he hits too loud, that kind of thing.
But when he started making these beats, and you've made how many beats since you've started posting things on Instagram?
Well,
a lot.
There's a lot.
Well, 7 years worth, yeah.
So we're listening to these beats, and we're enjoying all of it, and even other friends who are music heads, like our friend Artie Gibson, who's a big fan of RJ's music.
Party.
And, I can hear, maybe, I don't know if EJ or Silent can agree with this or not, but I can hear maybe some kind of a Jay Dilla influence, or maybe a Pete Rock, maybe a DJ Premier.
I love Dilla.
So, right, and I can hear it. I can totally hear it. Maybe Ninth Wonder.
What is it? How do you sort of pinpoint what that is?
These are just some of the best producers
He's a cultured man.
Okay.
Just some of the best producers in hip-hop music,
He's a man of culture.
How far does your history go back in playing music and getting to know what the history...
This is, well, I mean, we're all fans of the music.
Right.
This is different. Tonight, you'll see us DJing over here, but this guy's making live beats, probably recreating some of the beats that he's already previously constructed. Maybe with a little twist,
improvising off of it a little bit, yeah.
Right. So if you get a chance later on tonight, when we get the music going, it'd be kind of cool to come up and look and watch what he's doing live.
We'll try and face a camera to him. Can we do that? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise,
I'm not doing any live finger drumming, if that's what you're looking for.
But still, not to downplay our culture and our craft, but we're DJs, and we're the selectors of the music for the night for any event. But you're making it on the fly, kind of like you would with like the Chemical Brothers in concert. These guys are.
Why the look on your face? What, do you disagree?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
So it was perfect when you said we're going to do the 200th episode live, and then after that, pipe in the music to the same headphones for the silent disco, with either this channel with the DJs, or with the Soul Therapy DJs, or RJ. So. No disrespect to my partners over here, but I'm going to be listening to this guy tonight. I love you guys, but I hear you guys all the time. I want to hear this guy. Yeah.
Why go towards lo-fi hip-hop or when you were getting into it? Is that the first thing that you got into, or is this what it evolved into?
Man, that's a good question. I actually really think about this question a lot, because I try to understand where I come from constantly. Like, why do I do what I do? And the term lo-fi, I can actually identify with that, because to me what that is making the best out of what you have at the current moment. And in the beginning, I didn't have all this. Like, I literally had like this little aux speaker.
Yeah, one of my friends,
inch speaker.
Yeah, one of my friends, Pete Kimball, calls it MVP, minimum value product.
Yeah.
And
that works. These days, I feel like, I can identify with the lo-fi sound just because I like the raw sound, and my shit's pretty raw.
Yeah.
It's not, a lot of the stuff you hear isn't mastered, but I really like just layering things. If you hear my stuff, I like to layer sounds. I don't know if it sounds pleasant to me, but it might not sound to everybody else, but, give it the chance. But I liked it. I liked the lo-fi sound because it was something that was kind of it was attainable. It was what you hear lo-fi music these days, and if you were to look at the layers of sound that's attributed to it, you have like a sample, you put a little filter on that, and then you put some drums on there, and then you can like EQ it or compress it to where whenever the kick hits, it ducks the piano sound or the sample down, and you get that really pleasing like pressure in your ears. It sounds really pleasant when you're wearing headphones, right?
Yeah.
You get that dusty sound. So I thought, at the time, are you an Apex Twin fan?
Don't ask me
you
about
into
it.
that IDM stuff? There's a lot of complicated electronic music out there.
Right.
I can't wrap my head around that, man.
I can't either.
I felt like lo-fi music was a way to get a foot in the door. It's
yeah,
basic. I'm not saying that it's something to look down on because it's basic, but even old school boom bap hip hop, like it's some of the most like basic rhythms, but that shit slaps, man.
Dude, honestly, if you listen to YouTube now, those are the things that are hitting, are the kinds of music that allows people to do something at the same time, whether they're reading, and that's what I used to work when I'm at work, is listen to lo-fi hip hop, something that's sort of soothing, and I don't have to get mixed up with the words, because you're constantly thinking and outputting.
Words are overrated.
Right, says the guy's doing a podcast.
This is on the fly, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
On the spectrum of music, where do you and RJ like stand, right? is this considered what DJs play, the kind of music that comes out of his system? How do you describe it? I mean, you've been a part of at least Guam music for a very long time, right? And you've been able to see it evolve. And at least for music that's been here, how do you see?
I mean,
how this came into play, how RJ's music came into play.
Nobody's. I mean, there have been generations of drummers on Guam, but what RJ's doing, I don't think anyone's ever really done before.
Cross genre,
maybe John Sabaris, our visual production guy. Has anyone done what RJ's been doing ever since?
Shout out to John, by the way. That guy's dope, man.
Yeah. So John is responsible for all the lights and all the visuals, luminetics. So if you guys are looking for lights and visuals, that's the guy to call. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the common ground is obviously hip hop, but even if you're not a hip hop fan and you're jumping on what is now trending again with this lo-fi or low fidelity sound, which is really just the down tempo.
I wish that was the actual term for it, but it's not.
It's I mean really.
What is it?
Well, I mean that low fidelity, like you said,
right.
it's this degraded sound, like but people will slap, like they'll do a 120 BPM song and call it lo-fi, just because they put some dust or they they dithered it down to like some like weird fucking bit rate, whatever it is.
Right.
But the connection. I mean we're fans, me and a few of the DJs. We're fans of what RJ's doing, and we're listening to him make these beats. Again, when going back to when we said, hey, no fair.
Yeah.
Stick to drumming, man.
Yeah.
You're so talented.
It makes sense, though. It makes sense. Hip hop is it's very drum heavy,
Absolutely, yeah.
So it felt natural for you to go straight to that rather than get turntables, right?
I think if I were to sum it up, I'm an addict and a junkie to like just that heavy like beat, like just something that really just like makes your head do this. Instinctively just.
Right.
But I also like. I mean, I like strange shit too, man. I like noise.
I mean, look.
You come from a rock background. Yeah.
I mean, are you just saying rock is just straight noise?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Weed is not noise, man.
But older generations thought that rock was noise.
I mean,
the Ramones had a really hard time getting their music through. Back then.
I mean, we live in the age of the internet, man.
Yeah.
You ever heard of Black MIDI?
No.
Oh God.
But I've heard a lot of noise on the internet too. So.
You've heard of Black MIDI, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, I don't even know how to. There's no one to pull this up here, but.
Yeah, Maddie's incapacitated right now.
But if you look at the four bands that RJ currently drums with, they're four almost completely different kind of sounds.
They are.
Matala, Tofu,
right.
Sriracha, and then that huge Latin sound with Caliente.
Man.
That's Trey, right?
No,
Trey, Kano. I can't. I mean, Joe, Sabrina. I'm not gonna name
everybody.
So
this isn't a plug.
So
plug it.
Between those four bands, is there something recently, or maybe since you really started to get serious into making beats, is there something you've taken, or perhaps were, for lack of a better word, inspired by one band or another, or one sound or another to make beats?
Well, me moving back here was a huge part of the process of digging deep into that craft. I felt like being in the States, I was just really caught up in the grind of doing things. Before I moved back here, I was working in New Orleans on Bourbon Street. I helped opened up a dueling piano club called Ticklers at my bar 360 right on Bourbon Street.
I've never been to Bourbon Street
or
New Orleans.
But a friend of mine, Tim Bowie, helped me, asked me if I could help, manage the drum part of that show because it's a very intensive show.
Yeah, if you've never been to a dueling pianos bar, it's basically two pianos set up in front of each other, and sometimes they have a live band, sometimes they don't. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Here we go.
That was loud.
Yeah, that was loud. Yeah. Let me pull some of myself. There you go. Did it get on your neck?
It's hot.
It's hot. Yeah, sprinkle it on me. Yeah, dueling pianos bar is two pianos in front of each other. Sometimes they have a full band, sometimes they don't, and people request songs. Yeah,
on the fly.
That's on the fly. They put it in a jar, and the songs, the the requests with the most money on it get played first.
It's called the eBay clause.
Yeah.
You can put $25 to hear fucking some Taylor fucking Swift song.
Right.
And then someone can come up with $1 more and fucking slam that shit to the floor. But then there's always that asshole who will come up with $1 more. Yeah, that song again.
Yeah, we call them trolls.
I no joke.
Do they make
money?
Do they make money,
Dude? So football's a huge thing in the States,
right?
In the old United States
of America,
right? America.
Yeah.
So whenever it's a football season, especially for the colleges, people come up and they request their fight songs for their schools. Dude, literally, I've made. Well, collectively, we've made over $5,000 in one night off people $100 to hear their fight song. They'll go to Gainesville, Florida, and they're gonna want to hear they want to hear a Tampa or Tallahassee fight song, like that $200, $201. The next thing you know, it's 4 hours later. We're still doing this, and we're laughing.
And it's just a room full of frat guys, right?
Frat guys and sorority girls.
And sorority girls.
And their moms and dads. Crazy. I miss those days.
What made you come back?
Oh, family.
Family.
My girlfriend, she's sitting over there.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
And like I said, back to something we were talking about earlier. I felt like coming back. I was seeing through, social media and whatnot, being in contact with my friends that there's a lot of things going down here musically, and it was inspiring me.
How long ago was this?
I moved back in 2016.
Okay, yeah. I feel like
April 26th,
that's about around time.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved back because I felt like it just had to be a part of what was going on, and it was honestly the best decision I had made. I had a thing, like I didn't want to move back unless I was doing as well as I was for myself here or there as here.
Right.
But moving back here, I've been able to concentrate, it's just something about being here. I've been able to just soak it all in. It's kind of strange. Like you see the people you grew up with, but then when you're gone for so long, you meet them, it's like you're re-meeting them.
Right.
It's like a fresh start. It's not something I was looking for, but it's just also nice to really reconnect with people.
Yeah.
In a way where they've also, have gone through things. So
yeah, it's very interesting.
Very inspiring, man.
Because around that time, I believe that's when the what happened back there? Oh, the Jenga. They're playing back there. Playing games back there.
That was a villain, man.
Right, we are in a bar, and not inside Boo's apartment with a giant dog.
Is that what happens there?
Yeah. Random crashing in the back. Yeah, and as I was mentioning, in 2015, 2016, I felt like there was this new renaissance of music, people putting out more and more and more and more music, and
There's
even
more
today,
music coming, man.
all over the place, across all genres, right? I mean, you've been part of the music scene for how many years?
A long time.
Okay, yeah. We're gonna keep it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want to put a number to it. We don't quantify.
On the radio, maybe 02, 03.
Okay.
DJing like this, early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been able to see the output of local music here on Guam. How much has it changed from back then to now?
Technology's a hell of a thing,
Yes.
But it's funny because I just watched a documentary about the 808 drum machine and how that helped shape.
That just happened a few days, like last week, 808 Day.
Really? Okay, well, I missed it. But that drum machine came out, was invented in Japan, and that was the basis for the.
Wait, it was invented in Japan and black people use it?
Everybody used it.
Okay,
all over Europe, for hip hop, for house, for techno.
Right.
But I mean, maybe its most popular reference would be maybe the early Def Jam stuff with the Beastie Boys and Run DMC.
Okay.
And then it went down to Florida, and then the Florida Breaks guys, the Two Live Crew guys in Chicago with the.
It's not going away anytime soon.
But yeah, so I think the machine is dead. They don't make them anymore.
They do. They have remakes. They have that Behringer one, I think.
But
so everything's mostly digital now
one.
rather than analog.
Right. Well, I mean, this is still. I mean, RJ, you can probably recreate what you do with all of these pieces of equipment on a computer, but the fact that he's got everything laid out, done in.
I actually make my sounds with hardware. I don't really do any shaping on my.
So
on
would
my
you consider
laptop.
that analog?
I just use I really only use that laptop to track stuff. But like I have like that micro Korg over there.
Mhm.
I actually have a Moog sub patty, and I use that to make my pseudo 808 kick drums and whatnot. But I painstakingly press buttons for my life as it depends on it. Make that sound, as you were saying.
So what it's become, at least from my perspective, is technology's helped guys like RJ do things like this for live music.
But how about for you?
For us, well, shoot, we went from records to CDs to MP3s now. So it was up to us to keep up with technology and be able to DJ anywhere in the world at any given time.
Right.
The current.
You just plug in your flash drive and you're good.
That's the current industry standard now. Is you can walk around with a flash drive, pop it in that CDJ, the Pioneer CDJ 2000, and go anywhere in the world. That's what it should be.
I have a question. Do you guys? Why don't you guys use waves more often?
I
know the file size is a lot.
If not wave, it's AIFF.
Oh yeah.
That format.
That's the one.
That's the one. One of the guys that headlined EIF last year.
Did he use that?
He was an AIFF guy. Period. He wanted nothing to do with an MP3.
Good man.
EJ, what's his name?
Wait,
again?
can you explain to everybody what the difference is between an AIFF and an MP3?
Wave is what you would get off a CD, off a commercially manufactured CD or a record or a cassette, and it's the sound in its purest form.
In terms of file size, so a 60 MB wave would be dumbed down to a 5 megabyte MP3.
It's compressed,
super compressed.
You lose a lot. You lose
quality.
A lot of excitement.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. So that guy Endo, his name's Endo. Super cool guy, really talented DJ. This guy he's got this backpack that he says he brings with him whenever he's downloading or listening to tracks or record shopping, and it's basically a subwoofer on your back.
The sub pack.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And whenever he's listening to tracks, if he doesn't feel the bass, forget it.
It's great. It's great for mixing as a producer. You can, if you live like, let's say you live in a condo and you can't be loud, you can wear that sub pack and see how impactful your sub frequencies are,
right?
And your kick is without having to blow out your fucking neighbors.
It's like shocking your spine.
Yeah, dude, you'll feel it. It's like someone just slapping the back of you.
Right.
So he said if he didn't feel it with that thing on, it wasn't a track he'd want to play.
That is
so that was and because he didn't want to lose any sort of audio value with the compression, all his tracks that he DJs out with are AIFF, and that's, I guess he needs a bigger thumb drive than normal. Yeah.
But does that affect the output of what's being put out into the
quality,
because you're compressing it so much?
He believes
it's almost like a WhatsApp picture, right? It comes out like really blurry the more it gets forwarded and forwarded and forwarded.
Right. There is a loss of quality. But I mean, if you're the casual event or club goer and you're listening to the DJ and he's playing,
it's loud as fuck.
And no one's gonna run up to the DJ and say, "Hey,
I can hear that bit rate lagging a little bit."
Right.
I can hear some artifacts. There's some artifacts in there.
This ain't 128.
I mean, I'll tell you, majority, maybe 90% of the stuff we're playing tonight is going to be MP3. I've got some AIFF stuff, but
I'm playing straight waves.
See, so his system.
I'm playing right off the project.
I mean, the thing is, it's a silent disco, so
not even mastered.
Straight to export.
It may not translate all the way with the headphones, but if we were to everybody to take them off and fire up the sound system, you'd feel it.
Right.
Oh man,
yeah,
I wish we were doing that.
Yeah.
These poor headphones can't handle all the bass I have.
Another time,
I had to roll it off.
just a bit for the headphones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Meaning he had to turn the bass down, otherwise the silent disco headphones would be, well.
When did you make the transition from records to CDs and then CDs to MP3s?
Shoot, man, I
like. Do you remember the systems, how it changed?
Yes. Well, the thing is, I'm ever since I the whole hit radio 100 thing was a full-time thing. This became
not a hobby.
No, not a hobby, but I had to take a step back from this.
Okay.
So I've been kind of spoiled, with some of the gigs, and I would just have to rely on whatever equipment was going to be used at a gig.
Right.
I'd have to be ready for that.
Right.
And learn how to use what is this.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah. So, and I adapted, and these guys have been nice enough to just say, hey, look, this is what we're going to use. learn, figure it out. Okay, got it. No problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So was the transition hard?
No, it's not. It's not that hard at all. Again, technology.
You download a bunch of MP3s into your folder and you throw it in, and now it's just USB. But a lot of people who are still stuck onto the traditional sense of things, right? They would say, "Nah, man, fucking vinyls only."
There's still some very cool DJs doing some very
but
cool,
still hurting their back, right?
It's I mean, there's a sense of novelty to it, with these vinyl gigs.
Right.
But I mean, again, these guys had to go find that particular song on vinyl. Some guys will do 45 only, the little 45 7-inch records only all night.
Right.
Yeah.
That's tough, by the way, because I mean, you just gotta constantly flip over, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you guys sort of see music going now?
I mean, it's going a lot of places, dude.
Here on Guam,
He's
at
a
least.
fan of music. I'm a fan of music. I think that's where we connect the most.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why we can have conversations about things that we do.
I mean, it's one thing to walk into an event and listen to a band or a DJ, but at some point it's like, why I gotta be that band or a DJ up there, I want to be part of this creative process,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Because I feel like with music and all the music that has been coming out, we can actually make an impact regionally and also possibly define our own music,
That's
right?
the goal. That's
the new
goal, man.
Guam music, or because Chamorro music, you can easily define what Chamorro music is.
Right.
Right. Now we're moving to this Guamanian phase of music.
And what is that?
What is it?
I mean,
right. Who determines what it is,
exactly.
right? Is it indigenous?
So for example, were you part of the tour when Tofu did the Japan gigs? So Fat Tofu.
Oh yes, every second.
Every single moment.
This ska and rock band from Guam goes out to Japan and does a few shows and represents Guam, but obviously representing Fat Tofu themselves.
We actually have a band that, Local Deluxe also toured out in Japan, and they actually brought back a band called White Surf.
I saw that.
They're playing right down the road from us
Los
right now.
Ladrones.
But it's a trip, man. Bringing a sound from here to another country. It's like, is this considered, when people listen to us, is this going to be considered in these days Guam music, Chamorro music?
Right.
I mean, like in the same way we see the Marianas, or the same way we see, music that we see as pastime here.
Right.
Or at the very least, those boys from Guam that play the ska and the rock music, those guys are good. At least they know
that was the goal, at least.
Right.
We weren't trying to do anything groundbreaking. We just wanted to show up.
And I think that's the next step, right? Is because the cost to go off island to tour the States. I mean, four piece band does it.
They do.
But I feel like Asia is the next frontier, right? For Guam to make
economically
music,
it makes way more sense,
economically,
man.
of
We
course.
have more in common with those people than we do with anyone from
And especially the musical palette can be similar.
I mean, a lot of the things going on with like the scene in terms of like the rock stuff, like they're just biting off the Japanese anyways, man.
How so? How so?
Oh, man.
I want to hear this.
I want to hear this too.
You guys know about that math rock, dude?
Math rock, right? Is this anything to do with the old progressive rock?
Everything to do with it, man.
Yeah,
And that's where it all comes from, dude. Japanese being inspired by Americans, and then the Japanese taking it a step further, and then it coming back. It's just this push and pull, dude.
And we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of it, dude. We're just trying to find, where do we fit into this? Where do we have to offer to this smorgasbord of fucking sound color?
Right, and I sort of feel like that's what the Renaissance is kind of figuring out, right? People are going to look back in this day and age of Guam's history and be like, whoa, okay, so during this time, a bunch of people were just like flushing out music, constantly.
I mean, otherwise someone's got to break out the Belen Bantudzen again and let's bring that back,
And, dude, I sample music. I try to sample sounds to put into my music, and I'm on the search for, like, what is the most indigenous thing I can find on this island?
It's the shell.
That's the only fucking thing, right? But I want more than that. Like, what it? Obviously, we had to have some sort of
the sticks, huh?
You know what I mean? Like, so I want to implement more in that in my music, but like, what is that? Is there a word for? Do we have these? What do we have from like way back in the day that I
nothing probably
so hard.
Right?
Like when you think about hip hop from like the United States, they have like all these Motown records they can sample
Right.
through.
Right.
Dude, someone
Jazz.
asked me. There was someone had asked me to do like some commission work, and they were like, "Hey, can you just, make some hip hop stuff off this, the Pepsodent song?" And I was like, I'm gonna try my damn best.
I wonder where the yellow went.
Dude, I
when
tried.
you brush
I
your
found
teeth
like
with
five. I
Pepsodent.
found like 5 versions of that song, and there was
That's
not
AJ's favorite song.
any
AJ
way I
Torres.
could chop that to make it any sort of appealing to anybody, dude.
It's hard. I mean, it is a country background, right? And anything.
So, and in light to that, so how do we identify what's indigenous in terms of music from here? How do we do that now? Who are the gatekeepers these days? Who says yes, that can represent the island?
I've had this conversation
Is
before.
it the people?
It's not the people. I think it's like a council of like 5 people who.
You mean the union that we don't have?
Yeah. The union of cultural gatekeepers.
I'm talking about the musicians union, the guild. That
we don't have, and I believe that a guild is very important. It's something that's possibly long overdue, right?
Way overdue
to support musicians and kind of pursuing music beyond just being a hobby. Yeah.
That's my favorite thing too. It's like, oh, you're doing good with your hobby. It's like, man, I'm 31 now. This isn't a hobby anymore. I've been doing this since I was 17, dude.
Right.
Like, this is how I pay my bills. It's like, oh, I get that a lot. It's like, oh, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I was talking to Uncle Pat Palomo, and he was saying,
dude, that
he
was
goes,
the last podcast episode I heard from you, and that broke me down, man.
Dude, when it freaked me out when he said, boy, back in the day, playing music, being a musician wasn't hard. You can be a musician and not have to get at least decent pay.
To be fair, the likes of him and his own, like they were all world class back then.
Still world class.
They're good now. Like they were like that back in the day.
Right.
My favorite thing from that episode, by the way, is how he talked about how he learned piano when he was young. He had that thing about wanting to be the last person to go to bed, so he would go to the piano and play as softly as he could. Dude, as a musician, that kind of dynamics training is just beyond me, man. Like that guy from the beginning was learning how to play soft, get his ideas across softly, and he was saying that helped him as he got older
to be able to touch certain notes
he's
without
not classically trained.
Right.
He just knows how to control himself. Like he can come off as a classically trained
jazz
piano
musician.
player.
Yeah.
And, dude, love him, dude. I actually I eat a lot of hot pepper because of that guy. if it's gonna help me become a better musician, oh damn, dude.
Was that part of the podcast? Was that part of the interview? Was he with the?
No, he brought it up.
Oh,
Actually, it's funny because I had a conversation with him when I was I did a gig. I covered for a drummer for a gig he had at Table 35, and we're eating at the end of the gig, and he brings out this little baggie full of Donny peppers, and I'm like, what? Like at every gig, every time he goes out, he has it. Ever since, I'm just like, if this is gonna help me get as good as that guy,
You're like rubbing it on his shoulder, like rubbing it on his fingers and stuff. You're like, okay, I'm gonna eat this.
Yeah, dude.
Oh god,
Between your legs.
I'm gonna let you all know right now. I don't know if it's worked or not. That's up to you all to decide.
Yeah. We'll see after this. This will be the determining factor.
All I have to say is baby wipes.
Oh,
Fucking baby wipes.
yeah. Right. And soft tissue.
Yeah, man. I feel like music is definitely on the forward progression right now. We haven't taken 10 steps back. It seems like everybody's bringing each other up. And I always bring up the rock community. The rock community is possibly the most supportive community in music.
With each other.
Yeah. Fans and musicians, yeah. And I always bring up Moistland. One of the most epic
oh my God,
events that I've ever been to in my life. I went there with my cousin Dill, and we were there till 3 a.m. and possibly 4 a.m.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we made it.
You didn't just get drunk in like the first hour being there.
Yeah.
That happened to me the first 2 Moistlands I went.
Yeah,
First two Moist Lands. The third one I was actually.
I didn't realize they were in their like 12th year when I went.
No, I think it's gonna be the 10th one coming up.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't been to a lot of
Yeah, well, it's up for speculation at this point.
The anniversary one's gonna be big. I'm
Okay.
sure you'll be there.
I hope
You
I
know.
hope I hear about
How many people have been to Moist Land here?
Yeah, Moist Land fans?
Look at that shit.
All 2 of you.
They have no fucking idea. Dude.
Hey, I'm not sure.
Some perspective, though.
Yeah,
right?
I've been 4. Wait, what do you do?
By the way, Fat Tofu's first live show was at the last Moist Land.
Yeah. Oh.
It's my
If you
first.
guys-
My first show with them was that show.
Right. If you guys haven't had or heard Fat Tofu, you guys got to get on it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, the first time I talked to Jordan on the podcast was with the group at Doug Chan's studio in Denado, and I like showed up, and Freddie invited me. Freddie was there, and nobody knew I was coming. Nobody knew. They're like, what's up with this dude? He just brought his headphones or a bunch of microphones. I was like, where do I set up?
I'm always gonna picture you that way now, with headphones attached to your head.
Dude, oh my gosh. I feel like it's stuck to me forever. Forever. Matty B, how long have we been going here? Are we good? Are we still good? Oh, we got signs. Look at that.
All right, 50.
Look at that. Production budget just went up.
Can you turn off the lights first?
Yeah. There you go. There you go. So, I mean, being here in a few sentences, how can you describe what you're about to give everybody who's wearing headphones right now?
You know what, Josh, DJ Silent, or EJ, you guys want to say a thing or two about what are we, because
EJ wants to say a thing.
Dude, you didn't warn us about this, dude.
the thing is, they were asking me what are we playing for this gig? What
Dude,
are we...
I didn't know I was gonna be on the podcast until like 5 days ago.
Really?
It's okay.
That's the reason why I hit you
I
up.
thought I was just playing.
No.
Sorry, man. Nobody's listening. We're not recording this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're hoping Matt press record. Yeah.
That would be a fucking travesty.
Yeah. Like, guys, we didn't get anything out of that. We're gonna have to re-invite everybody.
Once again, let's try that again.
Yeah. But yeah. Sure.
Shoot, man. Probably a great representation of what we do with Soul Therapy, which is normally the first Tuesday of the month, happy hour here at the venue. Except for September, we're doing the first Monday, Labor Day Monday, and maybe some house music, because all 3 of us are also part of the EIF family.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, unless
EIF sponsors this podcast, by the way. This episode.
we could play Dr. Dre all night, and Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube.
I've been getting this question. Do the DJs take requests? I was like, I don't know if they're these kind of DJs. I don't think they're the party fiesta DJs. Like, hey, can you play Don't Blame It on the Cha Cha Cha, please?
The last time someone asked for Despacito, it did not end well. We were not. It did not make for a pleasant night. Because the woman was drunk. She didn't want to let up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, gosh. Hey, just when you guys are done, pack up the gear, play it on the iPad, and just walk away. We're done. Here you go, lady. All you.
What is it about requests that sort of does it ruin like what the DJ has planned for the night? Do you guys go with a plan?
We have a loose plan. We certainly talk about it because we don't want to step on each other's toes.
Right.
But it's the cool thing about an event like this is really we get to truly be a selector tonight, as they would say in
selector.
Right in reggae music.
Selector, dub selector.
Right. So we get to just select the tunes and that we think are cool and we think you might want to hear on your silent disco headphones. And if not, then maybe you can make a request.
Or go fuck yourself.
or like the Iron Sheik would say, go fuck yourself, jabroni. You
fuck the fish.
Fuck the fish.
Yeah. Some soul therapy, some soul music, some hip hop, maybe some house, and something in between.
Yeah.
No DMX.
No DMX?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's my shit.
Yeah.
No Juvenile?
No Juvenile.
Back that ass up?
Yeah, no.
Those are CD days, yeah?
No Cash Money Records.
You guys got some Nelly on there?
This is no Nelly. This
No
is not,
Nelly?
This is not that gig.
No Nelly Tuesdays.
Not that gig, man.
Wait.
Go see my friend Chris Berg in Tumont tonight.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
He's cool. Berg's cool, but that's where that's at. Not tonight, sir.
If you don't wanna dance and you wanna bump and grind,
only the DJ.
That's where you do that
right now.
Right. I mean, we were talking about Dilla and Premier and.
Where did we go wrong?
And Pete Rock.
Where did I go wrong?
That's the opposite end of that spectrum, So, yeah, that's probably what we're gonna do tonight. Yeah, even after the silent disco thing is done and the headphones are off, we're gonna keep going till closing.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Keep the party going.
Yeah.
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 Thank you guys. Bro, how about you?
Bro,
how would you describe your music, and what are people expecting? What should people expect when they hear your music?
Oh man.
Can I just say real quick?
Go ahead.
So if you were to listen to, maybe you got a collection of RJ's music on your whatever, your phone or something. This is like Tumon Bay, 5:30 p.m. with the water's calm, the weather's perfect,
high tide,
with a beer in hand. I mean, some people might want to listen to maybe
a Russian walking cross.
Sure,
you're making it sound like so after a long night of the after hours bars.
5 a.m.
Actually, my bad. 7 a.m.
He didn't say sunrise. He said sunset. He said sunrise.
EJ Flores used one word to describe this man's music earlier tonight. He said blissful.
Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Shout out to EJ Flores, by the way. He got me my first gig on this island.
Oh, yeah.
Over at Drop.
How did that happen?
He hit me up.
Okay.
We met each other. He heard me, and then it went on from there.
Was it sort of a social media meeting?
I think I did 2 gigs there, and then after that, I got on to EIF.
Yeah.
In 2017, I think I did EIF 2017. Yeah, 2018 is it? I can't keep track of the years, man.
Yeah, there's like 5 EIFs every year.
There's a lot of weed.
For real. I can't keep track either. I think I've been to a lot of them, and they're all just one blended mesh.
There's the end
of a big party.
Right.
It's like in between the road and the end of summer. There's the cool down.
Right.
It's all good stuff. Though.
Yeah.
Those guys bring it every time.
I just have way too much fun every single time.
Right. Sorry to interrupt, RJ. So if you would describe your music.
Oh, man. I like synthesizers a lot, so if you like distortion, I mean, EJ had a good way to describe it. If you like blissful stuff, my songs for people who like to do, trip out. Whether I'm a huge advocate for psychedelics. If you can't tell,
a trip out.
I mean, yeah. So my music's for all the weed smokers and all the mushroom pigs.
That goes on in the back, in the back
guys.
there. And then you go to the front, and then you figure it out. Like, who smells like weed here?
Not me.
Not
the guy in front of me.
The guy in front of me.
Not me.
By the way, yeah.
But let me get you guys prepared to hear these guys jam. Are you guys ready to hear these guys jam? Hell yeah.
Okay.
And once again, I just want to thank you guys for being here tonight. This is truly amazing. When there were 0 people in here and it was just by myself, I had to do a sort of sense of reflection and just remember why I do this. And I found my purpose in life is to constantly evolve. And if that's one thing that I can share with you is just keep evolving and keep finding things that makes you happy.
Cheers to that, man.
Because happiness is all that matters in the end, right? Despite everything that's going on in the world, despite everything that you see on the news, as long as the people around you make you happy and you're around the people that make you happy. I don't even know if that sounded like the same thing, but
we had this conversation. We were talking about I think everybody should have a chance to run a podcast just to gain some perspective.
Yes.
Meet people that are outside your fucking bubble, man.
You guys think me doing 200 episodes makes me smarter? It makes me actually
people in the
dumber.
world.
I am actually dumber every time I do the podcast because I feel dumber because there's so much I don't know. And constantly learning from different people, whether it be experiences, whether it be their knowledge on history or things that they're passionate about it. And it drives me to keep on doing this more and more and more. I'm so curious about life and just the fact that we can all sit here and do a podcast. I don't know if we'll do this again. Should we do this again? Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll get 200 more headphones, right? Or maybe no headphones. We'll see. Evolve, right? And so that's I I just want to thank you guys for being here and making this happen. Without an audience here, we wouldn't be doing a live podcast. We might as well just be at the apartment, right?
Down for that too, dude.
with the big dog.
Right. So, Ronnie, thank you, brother.
Yep.
And, you've been on the podcast before, and I'm glad that I can share this live episode with you. And hopefully down the line, we can continue doing more and more stuff. And so thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
RJ.
My pleasure.
Thank you, my brother.
Thanks for having me.
I found RJ on Instagram, and he doesn't show his face on his Instagram at all. So I had no idea what he looked like. I was just really into his music, and that's how I can explain the level of what his music is all about, is that you don't even have to see the face that's playing the music, and you're drawn into it. And so thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I hit him up.
Me. It's an honor.
4 months before, I was like, hey, dude, can you be on my podcast? And
you had me on the edge of my seat, by the way, that whole time.
The whole time.
The world.
I was like, I want to tell you what I'm doing, but I don't want it to get out. And I was like, I'm having a hard time trusting anybody right now.
I got a big mouth, dude. I would have told everybody.
And then when we finally met, it just happened that he was so into it, and we vibed right away. And so thank you so much. I'm gonna have you guys get set up, and I'm gonna do a few thank yous. I got a cheat sheet here.
Can I go pee first?
Of course. And this should take about five minutes here. So my thank yous go out to first of all my mom and dad. Happy anniversary to them. I believe it's like over. Is it how many years? 40 years? Oh, 34 years. I was like, whoa, when did you guys get married? 34 years of marriage bliss. And I just want to thank you guys for bearing me. You know, I know I wasn't an accident because you didn't want my older sister to grow up alone. So, so thank you guys. Thank you, bro. You can go ahead and do your stuff. Yeah. No, you're good. To the Master Random team, you guys made this shit happen. 3 months in the making, 7 months in my brain, and just completely grateful for everything, and all the way down to logistically making this shit happen. Thank you. Okay, cheat sheet. John Bermudez. If you guys see the nice logo of the rebrand, this guy is responsible for it. He is the Ladrone creative, and he had to deal with me for the last year trying to figure this out, and I thank you for having that patience to doing it. To all here we go, to all my friends and family, thank you guys for continuing to support me, and especially the homies who have been on the podcast, even people I have met through the podcast. You guys are my friends. I believe I create relationships with the people who come on my show, and most of the time we meet each other at my front door, literally. And for us to sit down for 2 or 3 hours and have a legit conversation about whatever it may be, that is the most meaningful thing I can possibly have. To Matty B, thank you so much. He is responsible for all the video production. He comes every single time I ask him to, and he's been there even when it's last minute. And thank you, bro. We're making this happen tonight. Yeah, we did it. To all the listeners, whether you listen to one episode or all 199 episodes, thank you. It's definitely means a lot, and it's what really drives me to keep on doing this. Every people I meet out in the street, people I don't know, people I know, talk to me about conversations I've had with other people, and it just reminds me of the power of this podcast, of what it could entail into the future. And I will keep on doing it until my last breath on this earth. So thank you to all the listeners. To my girlfriend Kylene, Dude, this girl, she lets me have the podcast in the apartment. So for wires to be all around the house, like strewn across the living room, and the dining room table goes, in its own little formation for the podcast. She's been with me since the beginning. She actually threw the Master Random launch party 4 years ago, back in 2015, and I don't even know if we were like a Facebook official or Instagram official, right? And I'm forever grateful to her for that. And through the thick and thin, she's stuck by me through it and has allowed me to do it. And I'd like to thank her parents who are here and her family for having her, for bearing her, and putting her into my life. And that's all I can ask from you guys. Thank you. I just want to thank all the sponsors, everybody who has donated to this and who has put time into this, all the way from my family's business, Ada's Mortuary. They sponsored the podcast for the last 6 months. AM Insurance. Yeah, it's kind of weird when people listen to podcasts. They're like, so the funeral home sponsors your podcast, huh? Yeah, it's not a... Okay. And AM Insurance, thank you so much. Dimension Systems, that's my lady's family's business. Thank you so much for constantly supporting. They've sponsored episodes in the past. EIF, 6 a.m. Group, these guys, they throw tremendous events every single year since 2013, I believe. And they're gonna continue to make waves in the electronic music here on Guam. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure. Ladrone Creative. I brought up John Bermudez again. He is the mastermind behind the new branding of the podcast. Your patience and your creativity is what has made all this possible. And the food truck. If you guys haven't eaten outside, there's chow. I hope you guys brought cash. Thank you for the food truck for being out there. And of course, Phil, the venue. Give it up for Phil Roberto. He didn't hesitate once. At one moment did he hesitate. He did not hesitate to say yes to having this here. And he's been supporting me with the podcast and also with music when we were just a band, just a couple of punks when we were in our early 20s, and now I'm doing a podcast up here. And thank you, Phil. I'm forever grateful for you, and I'll forever support this establishment forever. So I hope it never closes. And finally, to our main sponsor, Budweiser, the Bud family. The Bud family's been a part of my family for a very, very long time. A part of my life, I should say, for a very, very long time. And I know people in there, ins and outs, and they've been so helpful through this process in making this happen. And it wouldn't be without them that, without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. So please give a hand for our major sponsor for this. This is a Budweiser Presents podcast. And so without further ado, I'm going to let the music play. Please enjoy yourself. Please chow. Please dance. The music's going to go all the way till 12. And thank you very much. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this first live show episode of the podcast. Super exciting. Special thanks to our sponsors, Budweiser, the official beer sponsor of episode 200, Ada's Mortuary, Stroll Guam. Don't forget to use the code word MRLive19 and get $10 off your next ride. AM Insurance, Dimension Systems, and last but not least, 6 a.m. Group, the crew that throws EIF every year. Thank you so much. Support us on Patreon. We got some shirts for sale on the website. I'm making some few adjustments, but the designs all designed by John Bermudez. Thank you to the Master Random team for putting this shit together and making it happen. I mentioned John Bermudez already. He's the creator of the logo and the designs and the artwork, and he's just absolutely tremendous. Oh, one person that I didn't thank, John Sabaris from Luminetics. He is the man. You're looking to get your event with lights and visuals, he's the fucking man. Phil Roberto, thank you so much, Phil, for your generosity, for letting us use the venue. What else is there? I think that's it. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm not trying to get in trouble here. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace.